A majority of Islamist terrorist attacks on U.S. soil are committed by lone wolf, domestic extremists as opposed to those working in cells or groups, according to a report released Tuesday, May 1 by the Anti-Defamation League. According to the report, titled A Homegrown Threat, Islamist Extremist Plots in the United States, between 2002 and 2017, 127 individuals were involved in 98 domestic plots or attacks motivated by Islamist ideology, and 90% of those were either U.S. citizens or legal residents in the country with documentation at the time of their arrest. Of that 90%, 52% were U.S.-born. During that same time frame, 161 individuals motivated by right-wing extremism were involved in 94 plots or attacks, the report states, adding that 7% of the Islamist attacks were lethal, while about 23% of the right-wing extremist attacks were deadly. In 2017, officials arrested 29 people living in the United States for crimes motivated by extremist ideology. Also, in 2017, 59% of domestic extremist-related killings in the U.S. were related to right-wing extremism, while 26% were linked to Islamist extremism. Understanding the data from the ADL's perspective, these numbers are not surprising, said Rabbi Peter Levi, regional director of the national organization's Orange County, Long Beach chapter. He said the lesson here for the federal government is not to focus on travel bans or immigration crackdowns. Data does not bear that out, he said. The federal government must play a leadership role by working with community partners on issues like meaningful gun control legislation and mental health. But the government cannot take that role if it scapegoats marginalized groups, Levi said. He said the data also shows there is a need for anti-bias training for law enforcement and education of youth so biases that can lead to prejudice and discrimination don't take a hold of society. The Holocaust didn't start at the gates of Auschwitz, he said. The long-term approach is educating kids about diversity. The easiest way to stop extremism is when it's just an idea. It takes an idea to defeat an idea. This idea of community members partnering with law enforcement, government officials and non-profits is working well in Minneapolis' Somali American community, which was identified several years ago as a group that was most vulnerable to extremist ideology, said Mohammed Amin Ahmed, a Somali refugee who started the non-profit group Average Muhammad, which crafts counter-extremism narratives through animated shorts and educates Somali Muslim youth about the pitfalls of violent extremism. It takes an idea to defeat an idea, Ahmed said. Our enemies don't fear death, they welcome it. What they are afraid of is their inability to recruit people to their cause. Average Muhammad's programs ties together civil society, government and faith leaders, he said. His community also works with the FBI, Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security. Ahmed says he has seen success firsthand. He gives the example of a boy who came to him after a talk and asked how he could help a friend who has been confused by ICE's recruitment videos. I gave him the advice he needed, but most likely, it was he who was confused. Ahmed said, we create this safe space when kids can come up and ask questions about extremism before ISIS tells them what it is. We help kids come to a rational conclusion that extremism is bad. Mental health programs will be a critical tool to solve the issue of violent extremism, too, Ahmed said. This summer he hopes to launch a program to tackle the issue of mental health stigma. Our goal is to support a hotline to call when parents see something is not right with their kids, he said. This is not just for the Somali community, but for all communities in Minneapolis and Minnesota.